right. So thanks guys for coming. Hope everything's going well. So what I want to do today is introduce you to my wife, Stephanie Small. Stephanie is a holistic nutritionist and psychotherapist. She works mostly with women and helping them with their relationship to food, as well as all sorts of other potential issues that may come up for them. So I wanted her here during this Cleanse for you because, as we look at food and we change our diet and we improve what we're putting in our body, different things come up, emotions come up. There's different patterns we all have around food, when we eat, what we eat, why we eat it, that kind of thing. And so I wanted Stephanie here to kind of talk about the work she does and answer any questions that you guys might have around that. So that's it. So, Steph.
Hello. Hi. Thank you for coming. I really appreciate it. Thank you for being here. So, as Matt mentioned, I'm a psychotherapist and holistic nutritionist. I have a private practice in Boulder, also via Skype, and I help women overcome binge eating, emotional eating, food addiction. Sugar addiction is kind of a specialty of mine. Oh, wow, the right people are here tonight then. So, what was that? Oh, well, we can talk about that. My intention tonight is, I think Matt mentioned that the topic I was going to be speaking on was how to maintain sustainable eating habits post-cleanse. And the things like shop ahead of time, cook once, eat twice. I'm not going to tell you those kinds of tips. I'm not going to be talking about that. Number one, because you know that already. Matt's talked to you about it. It's common sense, some of it. What my intention is to give you a couple of pieces of information that's kind of lesser known. One around nutrition and the physiology of nutrition and how eating certain types of foods can prompt overeating them, can prompt an addictive cycle. So one on nutrition and then one on emotion, how emotions really are at the root of, if not, once a month we drink too many margaritas, but if it becomes a pattern. So giving a piece of information, a tool, and then an example that I've encountered with a client where it was a successful intervention using that tool. And I'm going to try and do it in 20 minutes. So we'll see how it goes. So how did I get here? How am I here talking with you about relationship to food? Why do I do the work that I do? I was talking with Andrea a tiny bit about this before we started. I identify as a sugar addict in recovery or a reformed sugar junkie. So growing up, I grew up in a family that was practically vegan. I became vegetarian at 10, and the rest of my family followed. We didn't even eat eggs. But there's healthy ways of doing vegetarianism, right? And there's less healthy. My family was less healthy, junk food vegetarian. So for breakfast, I would have a granola bar. For lunch, I would have like a peanut butter sandwich or a brownie. And then I can't tell you how many times I remember coming down to dinner and I'd say, what's for dinner? And my dad, mom would be sitting at the table and my dad's like, well, I can nuke you a tofu pup, like a tofu dog, or nuke you some broccoli, or, mom's having salt-free pretzels with sugar-free jam. There's a leftover samosa in the fridge you can have too. So not a lot of cooking or health was happening. So that's just what I absorbed and how I started eating. And what ended up happening was I'd eat that way and then maybe several times a week I'd have a binge on sugar. And now, listening to that, you all are probably going, well, you weren't eating enough. That was absolutely one of the factors, right? When we're not eating enough, that leads us to go binge on something. And it's often whatever's closest, it's sugar. There were other components, too, to my dynamic, emotional components, specifically. But what ended up happening was by the time I was in my teens, I had a lot of health problems. And I was taking pills for them from doctors that were suppressing the symptoms, but not treating the root of the problem. Not one doctor I went to brought up diet. The dermatologist didn't say, hey, how about your diet and digestion? The urologist didn't say it, and the psychiatrist didn't say it. when in reality, it all had a great deal to do with my diet. So by the time I was in my early 20s, I was famous among my friends for being the sugar monster. And there's one story I like to tell. Sounds scary, doesn't it? Sounds intense. Well, it was intense. And I like to tell this story to kind of illustrate where I was at with sugar. I was at a Christmas party one time in college, and I went to a very pressure cooker school. I was at this fancy Christmas party, and I ate 15 pieces of cake.
Whoa. Oh my God.
I still remember it. I still remember the skirt I was wearing because it got so tight. You know? So that's where I was with sugar. And as you can imagine, my health problems just got worse. So by the time I was in my mid-20s, I finished grad school, I moved to the Bay Area, and my friend happened to be seeing a holistic nutritionist. And she was like, Stephanie, you should really check her out. I think she can really help you with some of the stuff. And I was like, okay, fine. And I had no idea that that would set me on a path to a total radical 180 shift in the way I experienced food, in the way I experienced myself, in the way I related to food, to cooking. I started co-teaching cooking classes with her. I didn't even know how to cook. Like, dinner to me was boiling pasta and putting a jar of red sauce on it, you know? I wound up going to holistic nutrition school. And at that time, I was working as a social worker in a psychiatric unit. And so I started a food reform project there. So, you know, I was looking at everyone who was in there, paranoid and psychotic and being fed pretty terrible institutional food. And so worked with dietary services to change the menu and where we source the produce, started helping cooking classes, started horticultural therapy groups. And then in 2008, I moved out here and I started my private practice, which is in Boulder and also via Skype. So that is my personal journey around this. As you can understand, I have a lot of personal experience with this stuff as well as professional. So I was trying to pick out like just one nutrition piece and one emotional piece, and I was up late last night trying to pick which emotional piece, which one should I pick? You know, there's so many. This is what I do for months with clients. Like, how am I going to talk to you about something for 5 minutes? But these are two pieces that I think are really little known and can really make a difference when you start thinking about what your patterns are or might be around going for a junk food or overeating or going for a food that you know isn't supportive for you. The first part I want to talk about is the nutritional piece of paying attention to quality of food. So we kind of all know we should eat food that's good quality. We know we shouldn't eat fast food, okay? And the acronym that I learned at my holistic nutrition school that I like to share with people is SOUL, seasonal, organic, unrefined, and local. So paying attention to that. Avoiding, you know, ingredient labels which have like 500 ingredients on them, and avoiding words that you can't understand. You know, when it's like mono, hexo, glutamate 5, I call that robot food. You know, you can't understand it. You probably don't want it in your body. The angle that I want to take with quality here, though, is talking about how eating food of low quality can actually prompt an addictive cycle with eating. The piece of information I want to share with you, it happens in 2 ways. So the first way is our bodies, when we're hungry, are hardwired to look for 2 things. They're looking for calories, or it's looking for calories, right? So actual bulk, actual content, and it's looking for nutrients. Because that's how we evolved, right? Our bodies evolved to want nutrients. So if we're eating a food that has calories, but is low in nutrients, our body's still gonna be looking for the nutrients. It's gonna have us keep eating. It's a physiological response. So that's why if you've ever had fast food and you're hungry an hour later, or you ate the whole bag of chips and you're hungry an hour later, there's blood sugar issues there too, for sure. And it's your body going, wait, you just gave me 800 calories, where are the nutrients? Let's keep eating and get to the nutrients. So that's one aspect of how low quality food can cause us to keep eating. Another piece that I like to bring up for people, and this blew my mind when I learned it. It's fascinating to me. When you eat a food that your body doesn't know how to digest, whether that's refined sugar, or food coloring, some kind of one of those robot words in the food that's a chemical that your body literally cannot understand and process. Or it's maybe just a regular type of food that for some people is supportive, but for you is not, like tomatoes, for instance. If you take that in, your body has a toxic reaction. It freaks out. It doesn't know what to do with it. So to take refined sugar as an example, we take in refined sugar and our blood sugar shoots up. We know that. And correct me, because my brain does not remember science, so correct me as I say this. There's something, what the body has to do to neutralize this reaction of the blood sugar shooting up is it needs minerals, right? The enzymatic reaction, it needs minerals. And so in order to get the minerals to calm down this blood sugar spike, it leaches minerals from the bones. So you can see how osteoporosis and diet can be connected, right? If you're eating sugar or refined grains again and again, the body's pulling minerals from the bones to neutralize this shock effect. So that's just one example of how the body goes haywire. Amazingly, the body has such an instinct to bring itself back into balance. So what it does is it creates this neurotransmitter cocktail that kind of blisses you out. Sends out like dopamine, for example. Probably norepinephrine too. I don't know. Matt probably knows. So that's where you get that little high, or that little or that ding. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, everyone's like, oh yeah. You can feel it in your body as you think of it, right? So for some of us, it's like, I'm anxious, I eat ice cream. Some of it's, I'm anxious, I eat ice cream. Oh, I feel good, but it's amazing because the reason that you feel that way is because the body is trying to neutralize what a toxic haywire effect is actually happening. It's really amazing, right? So we don't know that. All we know is that when I'm eating ice cream, maybe I'm feeling, some negative emotions or whatever. Maybe I'm not even in touch with that. And I eat ice cream, I feel better. That's all we know. So maybe not even consciously, but we're going to be reaching for the ice cream when we're upset. But knowing that actually it's a compensatory reaction that the body's having can help you understand, maybe break that cycle. Oh, this is not a good thing that I'm feeling a little high because of it. It actually signals something negative. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So what I say is, and I want to be very clear about this, I'm not like avoid treats. No way. No way. That's not fun. She's like, that's right.
You are a treat whore. Treat whore.
I'm a treat whore. I'm a total treat whore. And I tell my clients, because my clients come to me, they often have sugar addiction, they're binge eating, and they're afraid I'm going to tell them, you need to stop having your treats. I'm like, hell no. I'm not going to tell you to stop having anything. That doesn't work. Why would you come to me if it were that easy? And number two, we all need treats. Think about quality, what I started off saying. So instead of your treat being the Safeway cookie from the package that's got 8 million ingredients that your body can't digest and no nutrients, switch out the ingredients. Use your almond flour, your teff flour. This is this beautiful ancient Ethiopian grain that's really high in minerals. Use spelt. Instead of sugar, use honey, molasses, stevia. Matt knows I go crazy in the kitchen with my healthy desserts. And they don't look so pretty, but they taste good, I think. We make ice cream with our ice cream maker, and we use pastured egg yolks and raw milk and honey. It is more delicious than the ice cream from the store, and it doesn't create this toxic reaction. I don't feel like it's crap when I'm eating it. I'm not like, I need to eat the whole thing, So here's an example of this working really well. I have a client who's 51. When she came to me, she was 50. She had been binging for as long as she could remember. And every day she was eating a package of cookies from Safeway, not nice cookies. And every 2 days she was finishing a pint of ice cream.
Oh my gosh.
And chocolate as needed. So obviously there was emotional stuff, right? And when I started working with her, I started there. And she started to get in touch with some of the emotions that were driving this. But it was really scary for her. And we weren't getting that far. So I decided to shift gears. And I'm like, let's have some successes. So I started talking to her about quality. And, she was scared that she'd have to stop having her treats. I'm like, no way, I'm very pro-treat. And I gave her like 11 recipes, like of my favorite like healthy dessert recipes. And these are good, this is good stuff. This is not boring, not like eat an apple, no. This is like raw chocolate mousse that's super decadent. You cannot, do you know raw chocolate mousse? Have you made that?
No, but I've heard of it and I'm so excited about this.
I'll send you the recipe.
Perfect.
It's so easy and you feel fine after you eat it. So she didn't like the raw chocolate mousse actually. She didn't like the texture, but she did like some of the recipes. And very quickly, she really took it on and she changed the quality of her other meals as well. And very quickly her binging dropped. She totally stopped the junk treats and would have like a few of the good quality treats a day. Huge, huge difference from a package of cookies every day and a pint of ice cream every 2 days with chocolate. Food is still, an issue, a safety issue for her. She still goes to it for emotional reasons. There's still that piece of work that we're doing. But just shifting the quality, because she wasn't having those physiological reactions, changed the binge eating. She told me that, so she had a birthday recently, and she was thinking specifically about this certain treat at a fast food restaurant that she used to get. She's like, I'm just going to treat myself. And I was like, cool. I'm all about give yourself permission, but have it come from a grounded place. Don't have it come from the like, I have to have it place. And she's like, I wasn't. I was like, it's my birthday. I'm going to do this. I've been eating really well. How'd it go? Well, she's like, I could only eat a quarter of it, and I felt so disgusting. I felt horrible. For her to eat a quarter of this dessert is groundbreaking, totally groundbreaking. And I can understand that. If any of you have had struggles with compulsive eating with sugar stuff, you can understand that. She had a situation again, going out with her family, and they ordered an ice cream sundae to share. She's like, I had 2 bites, but I was fine. So I'm sharing that to illustrate how much of a difference just swapping out the nutrition can make. And not having the rigid approach, not going, no, you can't have your treats, being like, have healthy indulgence, thinking about quality. So that's my nutritional piece. So the emotional piece, like I said, I was thinking last night, I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to do in 5 minutes? And I realized all that I can do is plant a seed and kind of give you a bit of an overview of how I see emotions in food and encourage you to just take it and run with it however you see fit for your own journey. This topic is listen to your body. And when I say listen to your body, I don't know, actually, you all are very athletic, so that might mean something to you. For a lot of people, it doesn't. They're like, I don't know what you're talking about. And you all probably know how to listen to your body in terms of, okay, I pulled this and this is sore, and that's a really good start. When you listen to your body, when you're able to kind of settle down, you have to slow down, sit still, get quiet, breathe, and start to notice what's going on inside here. That's going to start telling you a lot about what's going on with your emotional state. Because a lot of us are running through life not even knowing that we're anxious, stressed, ashamed, angry, lonely, sad, afraid. I wanted to do a body-centered practice with you all, and I realized I couldn't because when I first introduce people to checking in with their bodies, sometimes people find so much there and they're in there for an hour, and we're not set up to do that. So I want to really express to you all the wisdom of when you start to listen to these feelings, you can really start to make connections between, oh, if I'm running around with all this anxiety all the time, makes sense that I'm reaching for that food to shut it up, because it absolutely has that effect in the short term. Another benefit of listening to your body is that you can start to find out what foods are right for you, because there is no one-size-fits-all diet. Everyone's biochemically individual, so I cannot tell you what's right for you. I mean, Matt and I have different diets. You and I have different diets. We all need something different. From day to day, we need something different. Our timing of eating is all different. And that's another big thing when women come to me, they're so confused and overwhelmed about all the information out there. Paleo, raw, vegan, especially in Boulder, raw, vegan, but now paleo. The zone diet. You know, I had a client, she's like, I'm doing CrossFit and I'm doing paleo, but I really crave oatmeal. And it's not like a crackhead craving. It's like, it would feel nourishing and I feel like it would be good, but according to paleo, I can't have it. Right? That was kind of how I felt inside, you know. So I was like, okay, so this is what you need to do. And we did an exercise. I'm like, I want you to slow down. I led her through listening to her body. How does it feel when you imagine eating the oatmeal? It feels really nice and nourishing. I'm like, there you go. Are you going to listen to someone else telling you what you need? Or are you going to listen to yourself? So I'm going to give you a couple of examples of how this can work really well. One, in terms of just the tuning in and listening to the feelings in the body. Had a client who came to me for, she didn't even say binge eating. It was more just kind of some compulsive stress eating. She had a ton of anxiety, which she, as we all tend to do with emotions, would ignore it, shut it down, deny it, everything but settling down and turning towards it and learning what it needed and how to work with it and how to move it through. So when she first came to me, we identified the anxiety, and then she was talking about, well, I feel like I'm not supposed to be anxious, and she thought she could think her way out of it, and this is like a really common myth. You can't. It's two different parts of the brain, you know, your cognition here, and limbic system, your feelings. You have to go to the feelings, you know. So we started to do some body-centered practices, and she started to really get in touch with this fear and anxiety and learn how to work with it and really move it through the body. Because that's actually what the feelings need, is they ultimately need to come out. And within 2 months, she wasn't doing any of that compulsive eating anymore. And her anxiety was a lot lower. Number one, because she had permission to feel her feelings. And number two, because she knew what to do with the anxiety when it arose. She even got to the point where she went home to visit her parents, which is normally very triggering for her. And there was chocolate in the freezer. And you know, or I know, if there's chocolate in the freezer, like you're like clocking the chocolate, like you're aware of it being there. She forgot all about it the entire week, which was a huge shift for her. So it all went back to her. For her, it all went back to anxiety. We did very little nutrition work. And she, after 4 months, she's like, you know what? I'm doing great. I'm much less anxious and I don't have a problem with food anymore. Awesome. Example of someone using this to find out what diet works for them. I had a client come in who had been vegan for 6 years, and she was scared of fat, which a lot of people are. You know, they believe that myth. The one thing I like about paleo is that it's busting that myth. People are starting to realize that actually you need fat. So she was eating, you know, mostly raw, very little protein, only fat was like a little bit of avocado per day. And she was binge eating and purging multiple times a week. So she was really caught up in her head about the ethics of veganism, and I totally get it. I was practically vegan for 14 years myself. I only had dairy. Now I eat meat because I realize my body needs meat. So I wasn't going to change her mind, right? I wasn't going to talk her out of it. That's not my role either. But what I did do was I feel like your body really needs something it's not getting. And she said, yeah, I feel like that too. And I said, okay, well, so let's do this practice. I want you to just slow down and tune in. What do you think you need? You know, I led her through this, and she's like, and I was suggesting different foods and how does it feel in your body when you imagine eating them. And I brought up meat, and she says, oh my, yeah. And so we're done, and she says, I think I need to eat meat. And I said, so that was her action step between the end of the session and next session was to eat some meat. And she came back and she said, I ate chicken twice. I got such amazing energy after I ate it, and I didn't binge that day or the day after.
Wow.
Yeah. So the protein and fat and eating the right diet for you can make a huge difference. But again, this isn't some externally imposed, I read this and it sounds right, or everyone's doing this. It's like, you've got to learn what works for you. Because red meat doesn't work for everyone. I don't believe that. For her, she needed, she ate some wild game and she felt amazing. So by the time we finished working together, she was also doing a lot of the emotional work too, and she wasn't binge eating anymore by the time we were done, and she had a lot more of a sense of how to listen to her body and eat in a way that supported her and was sustainable, as well as how to listen to her body and notice what she needed emotionally and take care of that so it wasn't leading to going for the sugar. So those are my two, given that we have just the half an hour, those are my two pieces of encouragement around as you're looking at your patterns following the detox. Take into account, because most of us struggle with, overeating this or craving that. A lot of people have that. It's just a spectrum. Some people it comes up once in a while, and some people it plagues us a lot. But taking into account these pieces about the physiological aspect of addiction of certain foods, taking into account the role emotions play in the way we eat. And the more you are mindful of how that plays out in your own life, the more you can really find a diet that is sustainable for you. Not for anyone else, just for you. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. I feel like that was a lot of information. Did I answer everything?
Yeah.
No, that's impossible. I know
Really awesome.
there's got to be a question. Matt, I'm sure you have a question.
Well, no, I don't. I mean, you can see why I had her come, right? Because it is what she really does, and I think it is such a hard thing, at least from my end, to tell people. Because they always ask me, "What should I eat? What should I eat?" And they ask me this diet, that diet. And it's so hard for me always to know, because I don't experience the world in your body and
right.
what foods need to be. I find that there are certain core things that pretty much work for everyone. So putting those things in place and then branching off of those, I think is the idea. And that really just has to do with quality. I think if you could break it down, quality vegetables, quality proteins, quality fats, quality carbohydrates, for the most part, for most people. So that's kind of the way I put the cleanse together in the first place, and then hopefully as you go out, and there's really just one more week left for the most part, of guidance, of structure. What do you do after that? So that's why I wanted Stephanie here, and if you guys have any particular needs around that, she's really good at that and can help if you need it.
Yeah, I brought actually. Where did I put it? Oh, there it is. A sign-up sheet. So if you like this stuff and want more of it delivered to your inbox, leave me your email. I also do free 30-minute consultations if this is work that's resonating with you and you want to explore it further. So if that's something you want, just check there too. So I'll just leave this here.
What about recipes, please share?
Oh yes, lots of recipes. And putting your email down is a good way to make sure that you get those. Because I love to do healthy desserts. It's a passion of mine. So that's kind of.
She's a baker, so she's gonna love. Yeah, big
That's
time
her
baker.
favorite thing to do.
That's like my therapy.
Nice.
What kind of stuff do you bake?
Like I do wedding cakes and
Really?
anything.
Do you do like hypoallergenic or do you like? So you do like all the traditional.
She's
Like Crisco? Just kidding. Do you use Crisco?
Mm-hmm.
Well, there you go.
I love that.
Mhm.
I love baking. It's so fun. And so, yeah, that would be so fun to talk about.
Yes.
Because you have to have the indulgence.
I know. I'm thinking about how I had with you. Like a couple nights, I think it was a couple days before the cleanse, or like a week before. And
We made one too.
We binged.
Oh, we were just eating like, but it was fairly healthy.
It was healthy.
Yeah, but I ate like 3 pieces. And I'm not a sugar eater.
No, you're not.
I was like, we each had a piece. Like, forking it. That was pretty.
But it's like there's something so nice about, did you use like Colorado Palisade peaches?
See, I cooked that one. So
Yeah.
it's like
Local, end of summer, you know what I mean? Like there's something so nourishing about creating those things,
Mhm.
you know. So I'm all for that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be difficult. It doesn't have to be complicated, you know, and complex recipes or anything like that. I mean, some pretty simple stuff. Learning to swap out certain things.
Yes. A lot of stuff ends up being brown.
Yeah, it doesn't quite look the same. Darker in color. Tastes good.
Which it's fine. I like the color brown. But I'll take pictures because I put them up on Facebook, you know, and I'm like, God, every thing I take a picture of is brown. Like the Guinness, you know, the chocolate Guinness ice cream we make, and the oatmeal chocolate chip cookies I make, and the gingerbread, and
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, that's funny. So good. Well, thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
you
you.
so much.
Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate you all being here.
Yeah, so
You too, people.
Ah!
Yeah, thanks for not coming.
so do you guys have any other questions for me? Anything in particular going forward? I mean, so coming up, this is Thursday. So I think if my memory serves me correctly, coming up Saturday, Sunday.
Yep.
We're gonna do it 3 days,
Mhm.
so 3 times a day.
Yeah.
So you guys ready for that? Any
Mhm.
worries about it? You know, I know. It's okay.
It works much better now. I don't know why we're me.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
Really, what?
so see,
I broke my ribs. My ribs are done for the season.
Oh, wow. Oh,
so really take that time and do your best to just rest. And you know, and if you need more, that's fine. If you need to eat more, that's fine. This isn't torture, you know, right? This is just, you likely won't. I mean, if you're, you know, every 3 hours, if you're having something to eat and you're doing a shake, you'll probably feel good to go. You may feel a little bit tired. I think you know, some of the dizziness is going to pass.
Not get better.
If it doesn't, let me know, and we'll stop. You can.
We'll try the coconut.
I think she just wants to have a glass of wine.
No, actually, I really don't. I just
Yeah.
don't feel good.
So, yeah, so it's just after that, then we're just going to go back to the once a day, and it's just going to be more good quality foods and kind of round out the week.
I have a couple of questions.
So, absolutely.
On the supplements,
Yes.
what's the dosage on those?
So, 1 or 2 a day, depending on which one it is. So, the taurine, I will do 1.
Okay.
That's 1,000 milligrams, basically. The lecithin and the cod liver oil, I people do 2 a day. And then 1 of the treonate a day. So you don't need a lot, you just need consistency.
And when do you take this? When's it best?
I take mine in the morning every day.
Most
Take them when you can remember.
of my patients do it in the morning just because that's when they seem to remember the best. I have a few that take it at night because they do it all before they go to bed. It doesn't really matter. It's more just getting it into your body on a consistent basis.
What about coconut products? I know you had coconut milk in one of the recipes.
Mm-hmm.
Can you have coconut water? Is the sugar content too high?
It shouldn't be too much in there. I mean, I wouldn't drink, you know, an entire box of it, you know, and if you want to dilute it with a little bit of water too, that's probably okay.
What's your powder habit? Do you know?
No, but I can look at it. I'll bring it.
She's got she's gonna bring some packets.
Oh,
Coconut
powder.
packets.
Oh, I'm not familiar with that stuff. Okay.
Who's the company?
It's a powder.
They all make them now. It's Blue Monkey.
Hmm.
But they've come out with like,
It's just more electrolyte type of replacement
Right.
from coconut. Yeah,
yeah.
makes sense.
We were watching a movie and I was like, oh, I need something like, you know,
Else besides water?
yeah.
Tea and water.
And there's parsnip chips out there, and there's coconut chips that are it's just coconut
Yeah.
Coconut chips?
chips. Mm-hmm.
How are they made? You just slice the coconut
I
and
buy
toast
them.
it?
Yeah. But they're roasted.
Does sound good.
So that was like, you know, scoop snack and take away
Yeah.
and crunch or something.
Have you ever made turnip chips?
No, but they have turnip chips. That same company makes them.
Does it start with a T?
Not a taro.
No.
A taro root?
No. It's root vegetable chips.
Yeah. Terra.
Yeah.
Terra.
Yeah.
Those are great.
Those will be on our.
Too salty. And
Yeah.
salty.
What about fermented drinks? Kombucha.
Should be fine. You know, most traditional cultures don't drink, entire bottles of kombucha, so I tend to want people to be a little bit more,
4 ounces.
yeah, a little more, do it in smaller doses.
Okay.
But, I think that's, should be okay. Most of them don't have a lot of sugar anyway
No,
anymore,
we don't.
so that should be okay. Good probiotic, and it's basically just tea anyway.
Yeah,
So,
okay, good.
yeah. Good. Awesome. Well, thank you guys for your participation in doing all this, and I'll send out tomorrow week 3, so you'll have a weekend to get ready for week 3, and we'll meet again next week to kind of just wrap everything up, and then
When do we retest body comp?
when you guys are done. So let's do, the week following week after, shortly after you guys stop, we should get you in and do.
You're here on Tuesday, right?
Yes,
Is it
I'll be
Tuesday?
here on Tuesday,
Okay.
so try to get people in on Tuesday. The week after, we can measure your body comp and see what, how everything changed and what's going on with all that.
Perfect.
Sound good?
Awesome.
All right.
Cool.
All right.
Thank you.
You bet. See you guys later.
All right.